for me and maybe for other people, I think perhaps one of the most like meaningful questions I could ask would be how to get to the root of the cyclical pattern that couples may experience of fighting conflict, and then everything is cool for a day, 2 days, 3 days, and then you're fighting conflict about the exact same root thing. And then the symptom might be a little bit different, or the reason might be a little bit different, and just going through this cycle. And you mentioned the word atonement. How does in a relationship, how do you truly get to the root of atonement for past trusts being broken, for example, or past moments of maybe contempt, which ultimately I think comes back to, again, like losing trust?
Mm-hmm.
How do we actually extract some of the bits that we're maybe like blind to within our relationship, to be able to actually get to the root of like, what are we actually fighting about? Because I know we both love each other,
Right.
but yet we seem to slip back into this reactive state and be, babbling and squabbling about things that neither of us really care about that much. It's almost like we're like possessed in a way. And I
So
feel
true.
like what that typically probably is there's something or some things from the past that haven't been addressed, and we kind of just walk past it and we think we're good because we go on a trip, we're having fun, we go to a theme park, like that was great, we had great sex, but we still haven't actually addressed those roots. Like within relationship, how do we start to identify the potential problematic roots, and how do we start to go through and be able to weed said roots?
Well, usually we would come into connection with a partner from a place of seeking to heal something that's unhealed. We especially, what I'm saying is obvious when we see that someone's drawn to unavailable people, or like someone's drawn to someone who just can't choose them. Someone's drawn to people who are in relationships. Like these are all obvious that we're playing out the fact that someone's not available to us, which is usually from our childhood. But where it looks maybe a little different in romantic relationship where we're choosing our partner is, as you're saying, like we love each other, but yet we're fighting about the same stupid shit. And sometimes it's not even, it's not about the wet towel on the bed, even though sometimes it is about that. But it's actually, or it's not because you left the toilet seat up again, although that can be funny. What it's really about is like, I don't feel like I matter to you. I don't feel like I'm important. Exactly. Yeah. So I would say that if you ask somebody the question, what did you want most as a child and not get? And the answer from most people will be some iteration of like, I didn't feel understood. I didn't feel important. I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel chosen. I didn't feel cared for. It'll be some version of that. I didn't feel like you choose me, that my parents chose me. I felt abandoned. I really wanted someone who would be there for me. What will happen is we will be unconsciously drawn to someone who does that to us. And we will be their unconscious draw. We wound them in a similar way. And we'd say it was like you seek someone who wounds you in a similar way to a parent who wounded you the most. There used to be a saying like, you marry your opposite sex parent. No, you don't. You tend to be in relationship with someone who is similar to that person you share the most wounds with. Now, that could look like, let's say, when I was young, my dad left. And so I could be drawn to people who work all the time, long distance, like that kind of thing. But it could also show up that I never want to have distance with anyone again. I never want anyone to leave. So I'll choose someone who smothers me, who controls, who's overwhelming. So we still haven't found the center point, which at the core of all relationships, there's two things going on. One is that we're always asking the question unconsciously, if I need you, will you be there for me? That question is happening in every type of relationship we have. Am I safe to be myself? Will you be here when things are hard?
And I will probably test you on that.
If I don't trust it, I'll test you. Yeah. Especially if I've been let down previously, especially if we get into the deeper weeds of that, if I don't see you keeping your word to yourself, I won't
Mm.
trust that when you choose me, you're telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lack of trust because you don't have the integrity of your own word. This is where
Yep.
partnership is so beautiful because, this is where our partner could say, you don't even keep your word with yourself, which is one of the most painful reflections, I think, especially as men. It's like, oh, Lord, because that is all we got. I mean, that's all humans have. But being reflected that you don't keep your word to yourself, which the negotiation we often make with that is like, well, if I say I'm going to do something tomorrow and I don't do it, I'm the only person who knows. Like that doesn't hurt anybody, but it does. It hurts yourself. What it does is on a deeper level, you don't trust that when you say you're going to do something, you're going to show up, which is like if I have a hard time saying no around connections, around, let's say, an example of like, I have a hard time saying to no to men who aren't good for me or women who aren't good for me. When someone who's good for me comes around and I choose them, I won't have access to my full yes because my yes still has a caveat to it because I don't know my no. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when I look at like how we orient a relationship from this place of like seeking to heal something, when we can see that the relationship is this container that can be the place that we liberate ourselves from inherited patterns,
Yeah.
then
It's
now
like
the
spiritual
frictions
practice.
what's that?
It's like spiritual practice.
Yeah, because now the frictions in the relationship are actually material to be worked with.
Yeah.
Imagine if I said this to myself at 20, I'd have been like, get the fuck out of here. Like, this
Yeah.
is material to work with. She wants to talk all the time. Like, da 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 da. Because we don't, who teaches us this? Like, this is what you got to learn because you go through it and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, why am I not good at relationships? Why does my partner not trust me? Why can't I seem to be committed to anything, to anyone? Why am I afraid of commitment? Oh, because you're a man. No, it's so much deeper than that. It's always so much deeper than that.